Being joined by Sergio Magana. We are going to be talking about these exciting predictions. I'm going to come back to the screen share, but welcome, Sergio. So great to have you again.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. It's such a pleasure. Such a pleasure to be with you and to see you after 1 year that it hadn't been possible, at least via Zoom. And
I have to say, my interviews with you are some of my favorite, and this is going to be, I feel, a very important interview because Sergio just wrote this amazing book, The Real Toltec Prophecies, and it's all about what's coming. The first time you were on my show, you said, watch for 2020, 2021. I think you said that about, what, 8 years ago, 6 or 7, 8 years ago. And here we are at the ending of the fifth sun and the beginning emergence of the sixth sun. So why don't you talk a little bit about what the Toltecs said, what not just the Toltecs, the Aztecs, all your teachers. I have to also say Sergio is a keeper of sacred knowledge from the ancient Mexico wisdom, the ancient Nahuatl wisdom. So yeah, talk about, and then I want to talk about the calendar a little bit, but talk about what you saw about this time, and here we are a little in the time. We're okay.
Of course. Yeah, I remember that the first time I was with you talking about 2020, 2021. And also in my first book, that actually it was because of that book that I was with you the first time. I wrote that that there was other count, not only the Mayan count of the ancient calendars of Mexico, and that in the central Mexican count, that keeps many cultures like Teotihuacans, Toltecs, Aztecs, and then the keepers. The end of the cycle was in 2021.
Just to explain that a little bit, the Mayans, I guess all the Mesoamerican cultures talked about the ages of the sun. We are leaving the fifth sun, and the influence of the sixth sun, well, it's here, right? So can you talk about the difference between the fifth sun and this new time of the sixth sun?
Yeah, of course. The first thing that I think we have to explain is the concept suns, because so that people understand. In both in the Mayan and in the Aztec calendar, that actually I would like just to say that it's not really Aztec. Okay, it's named Aztec calendar because the sunstone that is very famous, the one that has like the sun with the tongue.
I'll put that up now. This thing, right?
Yeah. That one was carved. And if you leave it like that, I will explain certain things.
Let's leave it like that, because I also, in your book, you talked about this thing which everyone thinks is a tongue coming out of the mouth. And in your book, you say, no, it's not a tongue. So yeah, please explain this, because this is something that everyone is fascinated with. Yeah.
Yeah. This picture that you have here, because many people think that is the Mayan calendar. It's not. It's the Aztec that is, like I said before, is not really Aztec. It's the recopilation of many of the cultures of central Mexico that comes from the Mixtecs, Zapotecs, Teotihuacans, then Toltecs and Aztecs. And this what that you have here in the picture is the center of the calendar, and is the main principle of that if you see the sun that is there, represents movement. So, and then if you see there are 4 squares there, those squares are...
Oh yeah, these are squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, as we go around. So there's the center phase and the four squares. What do the four squares represent?
They represent the main concept of the philosophy and cosmology of all these cultures, that it was based in what is named four movements. Four movements mean that in order to complete any cycle, you need like four steps or movements like they were named. So for example, for one day, it would be the dawn, midday, midnight, sunset, midnight. For the moon phases, of course, to complete one, two solstices, two equinoxes, in order to complete always. And if you see between the squares, are like these eagle claws.
Yeah, claws between the squares. Yes, yes, yes.
That represent that in order to create the movement, to start a new cycle, you need to destroy the previous one that is destroyed by these claws. So,
the claws. So we're seeing a picture of only the fifth sun cycle calendar, right? This
yes.
only represents the current sun that we're leaving. This is, and you talk about the kind of mental attitudes people have in each sun. So this is, yeah. So what is the thing coming out of this person's mouth there?
Yeah, and like that, for example, there are not in the pictures, but it was really good for people, I think, to see and to understand. There are other counts that come that are not in the picture, like I said, but the last one that is in the stone, it represents like two serpents that they end with a human face. Every time that you have like serpents with human face in the Mexican culture is about Quetzalcoatl, precious knowledge, like the purest wisdom. And that represents the old count, the long count, sorry, not the old, the long count. That is a cycle of 26,500 years. That is also the long count of the Mayans, but I want to also to share with your audience. It was not only seen by the Mexican cultures. It's not a Mexican thing. It's a universal thing, because, for example, the same number of years is what the Egyptians discovered and named precession of equinoxes. In the Western astrology, the same, like the long count is split in 12 eras that are the astrological signs. That gives you like eras of 2,200 and something years that are now is very famous, like the transition to the Aquarius era. So all these cultures around the world are taking like base the same number.
So the long count must represent a kind of giant orbit of a sun around the galaxy, or I think you said around the Pleiades, right? That's what 26,000 years represent?
Yeah, all the cultures explain it different. For example, actually in Egypt, it was explained that if the shadow, the precise shadow in like in certain stones in an equinox hits it's in a certain place, then it will spin all around. If those stones are like monoliths, like Stonehenge, and in 26,500 years will go back to the first position. And but for the Mexicans, it was explained the same count. Like if you see that is not here, but in the last ring, those human faces have certain feathers that they have 7 small like circles, and the ear ring is bigger, and that is the symbol that our sun is giving a spin, as a complete spin around a complete cycle around the Pleiades in those 26,500 years.
Right, so that is the long count. So what we see, let me come back to you for a second. Hi. So what we're seeing now, and this is what you predicted, is the end of the fifth sun, and each sun is what, 6,000? What did you say? How many years?
Yeah, like the okay, like the mathematic of the Toltecs and Aztecs was the number 4, like I said, for movements. So they split the long count in 4. So that gives you cycles of 6,625 years. I don't know why the Mayans split it into 5. So their cycles are 5,100 something. So everyone is split in different measures. And that is, those periods were named suns. And between each sun and the other, there are like 29 years of transition that actually are the ones that we are finishing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the fifth cycle sort of started to fade out on the eclipse of July 13th, 1991. Eclipses mark transition points. And so in 1991 began the 29 years that will lead us into the next phase. But you describe it really well. You say it's like, the dawn. There's, the sun just doesn't rise all at once. It starts to get lighter, 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 and then we see the sun over the horizon. So we now are coming to the dawning of the sixth sun. And the sixth sun is very, very different than the fifth sun, right?
Yeah.
Describe traits of the fifth sun, and what we had to deal with.
I will like to, that I think is very important to talk before describing the suns, is that there is no end of these calendars. They are round calendars, and so every time that one cycle finishes, it comes the next. So, for example, after the 5th, it will come the 6th, the 7th, and like that. So it was a completely misinterpretation, the end of the world from the Mayan calendar. It was the end of the cycle. It's like if we say that every time the 12th at night is the end of the world. No, it will come again.
I never believed it was the end of anything because, it's, people make up all sorts of stories. So you giving us the right knowledge based on the ancient seers of Mexico, and it's amazing what they knew. So what was the fifth sun? I mean, and what will be the sixth sun energies?
Metaphorically, all the suns represent like one moment of the day. So, for example, there are suns that could be representing from midnight to the dawn, others from the dawn to midday, from midday to the sunset, and like that. So the fifth,
because each day is divided into 4 parts, and it's 4 is the key.
And then So, and then the fifth was a sun that represented the period from sunset to night. Every time that the suns start with the sun, actually with the physical sun, like in the part of the day, so they have a tendency to because what is described is how the collective consciousness will be behaving actually, with the exceptions of certain groups that will keep other knowledge. So when they start with the sunlight, they are going to be periods in which it will be like when we are awake, that with opened eyes, like normally when we are in the day, and that our perception goes outside. So
that's the fifth sun. The fifth sun, like you say in this beautiful book, I recommend everyone get The Real Toltec Prophecies, Sergio Magana's latest book. You say the fifth sun was looking outward, away from the south.
Right? It's normal because now that I'm awake, for example, I'm seeing you now in the screen, I am seeing the balcony and everything outside of me. So the perception of the collective will rule many things. And it's quite simple, but very deep. Because if we are looking outside, so we put everything outside, like God, like the creator. So our amazing periods to create religions. And if we have seen the past 5,000 or 6,000 years were full of patriarchal religions. Also, you put satisfaction outside, needing to conquer territories or to get possessions, or to also medicine. You need plants or chemicals, or at least therapists that are outside of you to heal yourself.
So the fifth sun was an external thing. You say every sun, every 6,000, 125 years, the sun alternates. We're coming out of a sun of day. We're going into a sun of night that is very different than where we've been, right?
Yes, because if let's suppose that, of course, these traditions are very ancient. So at night, before electricity, everyone was sleeping. So you have your eyes closed, and that perception is spread between the collective. So in the night suns, we are forced to see our inside. And the inside is not only spirituality. It is talking that some people have to see for the first time their psyche, even repetitive patterns, the addiction that humankind has to suffering, also the fear of change to new things, ancestral patterns. So to analyze what is happening in a different way, because the explanations of this is how God wanted, or the will of God, or something are not satisfying anymore people, because we are changing of sun. And if in the metaphor we are not seeing outside, so there is not a God to blame or to put all the responsibility. And this will increase and increase. So that's why a lot of people is in personal crisis and not finding exact, in complete darkness would be like the underworld of uncertainty, not knowing exactly.
You're saying because the vibration of the sun is now changing and it's forcing us to go inward, if we don't make that choice, we're going to have more problems. The person is going to be...
Yes, and...
more issues,
First of all, something that I think it's really interesting about this is that you want or not, you are living the transition. Everyone, from the most materialistic looking outside people to the most spiritual, everyone, because we're in the same planet. In which way? For example, if we are going from as an outside perception sun to one inside, in 2012 happened something really important. The mobile internet that actually gave birth to the cell phones. And actually, and my teacher told me, because I received these teachings before 2012, and he told me, see how it's happening? And when cell phones came, and they became not only like a luxury thing, but an object of first need, most of the people stopped looking outside, and they were like in a middle point, a cell phone, like virtual reality games and many things. that are not still in the looking inwards,
yeah.
but it is a long transition. But that is happening for all the world. So almost no one now, only the rebels that refuse technology are looking outside.
Wait, are you saying that was a good thing to start to look away from the outside towards our own devices? Was that a movement towards an in-between step?
Yeah, we cannot say anything is good, anything is bad. Right. It's something that was meant to happen. So that's why I wanted to tell people that you cannot escape of the movement. It will get you through technology, through spirituality, or through whatever, through now the coronavirus or whatever. We cannot escape because it's the dream of the cosmos that includes the dream of the earth. So we must live it. Of course, there were other options, like if you start seeing yourself inwards and the things to solve your dreams and that, you would live it in other way, in the spiritual way that I cannot say because it would be very arrogant of the people that we are in spirituality that that's the correct path. It's only other decision. Most of the, especially young people, and that is living it through technology.
So the time of the fifth sun was that outward looking, there were religions, and that lasted 6,000, I think 125 years. And it's very exciting to be in this moment where we are actually seeing the shift in vibration of the sun, because the sun's radiant energy affects our consciousness, and we can either fight that change or go with it, which means it will help us go deeper into ourselves and have more psychic experiences, more spiritual experiences, more inner understanding of the self, right?
Yeah, and an inner understanding and an outer understanding of how it works, because I think that is what is precious about these times. I always heard, because we had been in spirituality for a long time, like these things that we chose to live in this precious time and we were queuing to come, and all these things that actually I didn't take very seriously. It sounded for me so new agey, and I said, I don't think so. But now that I understood, because actually when I wrote first about the transition and the shift to the sixth sun, the 2012 hasn't happened. So, and when it didn't really happen, nothing dramatically, I thought that probably 2021 was going to be something similar. I wasn't sure because I haven't seen it. Now that I am sure, I truly believe that we're supposed to be here, because it's a privilege to see the shift from one sun to the other and to be like pioneers with information of living in the new ways.
Right. So are you saying the crisis that the planet was in right now is sort of the tail end of the fifth sun and a kind of a movement, a bardo, a passageway? And that was definitely dramatic for everyone, right? So
yeah, or not, because
it was.
Yeah. But then in the information that I got, it was like the 9 years between 2012 to 2021 were going to be challenging, because we were supposed to leave the underworlds, and that year by year you will see the expression of one of the ancient Mexican underworlds represented. And so things were actually, when like I put in the book, I made the comparison between what happened and the information of the underworlds. So it was quite accurate what we lived in the past 9 years.
Yes. Yes.
But when I was totally convinced, it was with 2020, because it represented the underworld of complete darkness. So complete darkness is that you don't know, you don't see. So you have to stop because you cannot see the way. The world was completely stopped.
Right.
So then uncertainty complete. And most of the people, including, for example, me and everyone, even knowing that information, were on uncertainty in March, for example. I didn't know if I was going to have a job or anything like that. And also the information that because the fifth sun was much more a masculine sun and we're going to a feminine sun, that the feminine forces will start showing the imbalance that had been were in the previous order for thousands of years, and that we were going to start with the earth, with lack of abundance and with infections. So like I got so many, like 20 years ago, this information, and then I saw it becoming exactly when my teacher Hugo said, that is not about Hugo, it's his lineage. And so I said, wow. So it was completely predictable, accurate, uh, and at the same time, it gave me a lot of hope. It was the first certain thing that I got in that beginning of the pandemic times. I said, okay, the only certainty now that I have is the classes that I took 15, 20 years ago about the shift. And
Right.
that,
In your book, you start with the first underworld, 2013. Was that
yes,
kind
but
of, yeah.
why 2013? Because actually the 21st of December of 2012 is the end. So we cannot count like 2012 like the year of the first underworld. So it would be 2013. That's
So
why.
wait. December 21st, 2012 was the end of what, though?
No,
The
it
end.
was according to the Toltec and Aztec tradition, when the fifth and the sixth sun got into the same influence, and
It was
we
like a
were,
solstice. It was an in between the fifth sun, and we were in that in between moment. That's
yeah,
what that's what
yeah.
2012 was. Okay.
But that we were starting the last 9 years of the shift that were going to be really challenging because we would cross the underworlds.
Mhm.
And if we see the first clear thing was technology, the cell phones,
Right.
because the first underworld is described in the ancient tradition like two rivers, and that you have to cross them. One river is your consciousness in the waking state, and the other dreaming state, or living and death. So the shift that happened, so people that started to see in the halfway position, it was like a clear symbol of the first underworld, and also spirituality. Actually, I think started getting deeper, going to more profound themes like conscious dying, dreams, and that correspond to the sixth sun.
Right. And okay, so now, okay, that corresponds to six, but bring us up because you are so accurate starting in 2013. So we came to an equilibrium and then in 2012, and now we're moving towards this new sun. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, we have crossed like the other underworlds through the years, that they consist, for example, in repetitive destructive patterns. That if we saw nationalism and many of the movements, even we have world wars, were repeating all over the world. Uh, the addiction to suffering, I made my research. How was that expressed in humankind? And I saw simply with numbers the increase of medical drugs, like for not being depressed and in anxiety and in something, increased like crazy. So it was a clear sign that people were suffering more.
Yeah, I think that was when all that Oxycontin, that whole opiate surge started, where the drug companies would prescribe these painkillers and people would get addicted to that. I think that began around 2013 in that
Yeah,
period.
it's very precise. It went like with the years, of course,
Yeah.
uh, not exactly like, but it gives you an idea of
Yeah.
how these things were coming. Of course, other underworld, it was like fear of change and that, and we're like in the years where movements like Brexit and neo-Nazis and like that try to get things to how they were before it started. And many of those things happened
Yeah.
actually. And we're describing the challenging 9 years.
Yeah.
But 2020 was exactly described. Complete darkness, you must stop. And the world was stopped, and the feminine forces will start complaining through the earth with lack of abundance and infections.
And this is something your teacher, Hugo, predicted. He told you this. He said, Sergio, this is the cycles of time. Pay attention. And this is what's
Yeah.
happening. Yes, yes. So,
And and he also actually, when he told me, it was my first class with him. And um, when he gave me these teachings, was to explain me why dreams were going to become so important, why
please,
to learn
yes,
about dreams.
that's key because you talk a lot about the importance of being lucid. This is one of the ways we're going to make it through this next time by being more conscious of our dreams. Yeah, talk about that a little bit. That's very exciting, please.
Yeah. And in the beginning, that's why I wrote about about the transition, because it was predicted that dreams were going to be so important in my first book, like 11 years ago. Now I wrote about everything else because I saw that everything was important because everything was being so accurate. And dreams is one of the ways of sailing with grace this transition, because if we're looking inside after our psyche problems and where we are stuck, the next thing to see are like our dreams, that especially in these sons of night, they recover the importance. Uh,
Not only that, but I think it'll be easier because the energy of the sun is a night sun, and it'll be easier to access our dreams. Do you agree?
yes, of course. And for example, I received the teachings in 2005 from Hugo, and he told me, you will see that dreaming will become more popular and more popular while we approach and after 2021, and that the practices that you have to do will become easier and easier. In that time, I didn't know if it was truth, but actually things that took me in 2005 or in those years that I started practicing, probably for me 1 year or two. Now my students do it in 1 month or two. I said, it's true that something changed that is making more easy the things in that aspect. And at the same time, if you see the previous order of medicine, religion, and that is not working. It's working, but less and less and less, because we are changing of vibration actually.
Exactly. So the fifth sun was that time of war, the time of separation, the time of patriarchy. The sixth sun is the feminine, it's the internal, it's the night. But you also say, because you start with 2013 and you say, yeah, it starts the first underworld, the first hell, and the eighth hell or underworld is 2020. That's where, but then also the ninth is 2021. So we're really not moving out of this yet, are we? In
No,
2021.
no. The ninth underworld actually it doesn't. It's 2021, but it won't finish there. It finishes until other measure, because when everything became accurate, then I went to, I said, okay, you had the correct count. What is coming next? And then he explained me also more dates after 2021. Like one that is very important is the cycle that we named New Fire in the ancient Mexican cultures. That is a cycle of 52 years that finishes in 2026.
That's November 24th, I think.
Yeah. I remember that because my mother's birthday.
But you also make a very important distinction that the long count, the real long count, not the 20, it will end this coming year, May 26, 2021. What does that mean that the long count ends? How does that affect us?
Okay, so let's see 2021. We're entering in the one of complete peace. That is how it's described in the ancient tradition.
2021 is a time of complete peace. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the underworld is described like that. Like this, 2020 was the one of complete darkness. The one of 2021 is the one that is named complete peace.
Oh, okay.
But what do we understand with that? It may be expressed in two ways. That if you solve all the other underworlds, then you will be in complete peace. So very literal, and you will be like a happy person.
Well, if you deal with the challenge, just to make it clear, if you deal with the challenge that each of these underworlds have, and you lay that out so well in your book, like 2014 was it to get over the destructive patterns, the addictions, and each year from 2013 to 2021, there's different situations. 2015 is over lack, bad relationships. 2016, which was a disaster for a lot of people, where you stuck. 2017, you go into, of course, more detail in your book. 2017, repetitious patterns. 2018 was, are you looking outside for happiness? Where's the reflection? 2019, what do you use when you speak or think? Do you use flowers or arrows? How, yeah.
That's a metaphor of how are you using your words and thoughts. And
Right.
we're clear years that, for example, how words were used to destroy, for example, in politics and to move elections complete by just saying a gossip about someone. And so the clear use of words and thoughts. And if you have dealt with everything, and it doesn't mean that you had to start in that the year if you didn't know, but we have to start somewhere. So it's better to start now dealing with all of them. So in order to get in complete peace. And actually for that, the pandemic would have been an opportunity. If instead of seeing Netflix and that, you start looking at yourself and seeing in which things I am stuck, which are my repetitive patterns, in which areas of my life I am addicted to suffering, and making a true effort to solve all these things and the ancestral patterns that you are carrying. So by now you would be almost ready. And very good.
Well, the 2020 was the complete darkness, the being with oneself, which a lot of people definitely was. I mean, I spent more time alone with myself and it wasn't so bad. And so 2021 is coming out of that to find the peace.
Yeah, but that's one of it's one of the options. If you solve the underworld, you will be in complete peace. The other option that unfortunately I think is the one that is going to leave most of the world is that, like, you didn't deal with the underworlds and you didn't take this chance. So peace, to be in peace is forced to be in your house, like now, locked down with a lot of your freedoms reduced, with many limitations that will end in the what people consider the major peace dying. So, and it's not for only 2021, it goes until 2024. So, but at least, but again, it's other opportunity, or you deal with your inside again, or you will be just living restrictions, frustration, and having like a forced peace that ends with the death of many people.
But you want to come in this year, 2021, you say in the book, to find that peace in ourselves. That's the challenge and the opportunity, because that will all these underworlds or hells were preparation for the sixth sun. They got us in
Yes.
touch with certain inner abilities because you said in that first talk that the sixth sun is the time of the Nahual, the time
Yeah.
of the mystical, the magical, the
Yeah.
transformational.
Now, while that very popular word of Carlos Castaneda, not of him, but that he put all over the world,
Right.
comes from a Nahuatl. Nahuatl is a language that was spoken by Teotihuacan's Toltec Aztecs. Nahuatl comes from the etymology Newa, that means I. So
Mm.
actually it means who I am really. And it's referring to the energetic body that we use for dreaming and the one that we will be dead. So actually it is much more an spiritual, because spirit is what you will be dead, and the energetic body of your dreams.
Mm.
So in this transition, because if you see nowadays, most of the people consider the real I, their physical body and their mind.
Right.
But in the other perspective of the wise people of the past, or of a son of the Nawal, the I will be the energetic body from dreaming and the one that you will be dead. And this is just the temporary like vehicle for the expression of the others.
But that's why these years are so important because we're really learning who we really are because we
Yeah.
are the dreaming body in a way. You say, and you talk a lot about dreams and you give great exercises in this book. I'm talking to Sergio Magana about the real Toltec prophecies. Get this book. There's some beautiful things. But but so what happens this year coming up when the long calendar ends? I mean, of course, it's not the end of the world, but what is
Okay.
the energetic? Yeah.
Energetically, like we said before, in the 2020, the first feminine energy that was going like kind to show the imbalance was the earth. So the second that will be activated exactly in the moon eclipse of the 26th of May is the moon. That is a feminine force that is ruling the night.
Mhm.
So the moon for the traditions of the ancient Mexicans was the one that gave you fortune or misfortune.
The moon
How?
gave you fortune or misfortune.
Yeah, and it actually it's very logic if we see in the cosmos is the main symbol that we have of growing and dying, waxing and waning. So earning, winning everything, losing everything. It can be interpreted in many things. So of change. So there are two possibilities. And so the lessons are that the people that keep ignoring the underworlds and their dreams, of course, the moon will take them to misfortune, to tragedies. And it's not exactly the physical moon, but
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
effect of their dreams and of their inner self. And for the other people that begin working with that area, that now people will really believe why it is said, the girl of my dreams, the year of my dreams, whatever, because we dreamt it before it happened, uh, may have an amazing time because their dreams will take them to fortune.
Right. This is the power because you said about the power of lucidity. And I've been talking about that as well. Actually, I just wrote this book about ETs and UFOs and meeting these
Yeah.
other beings. And I said the only way you can meet them is in a lucid state because they don't exist in our reality. Actually, you mentioned something about that as well in your book which
Yeah.
I was thinking about. So, but it doesn't matter who these beings are in our own spirit. What's the best way to practice being lucid in our dreams and consciousness?
There are many. First of all, let's address where we're changing of era and that the external solutions won't work, at least not for almost all the people. So now that I see the news and people waiting for vaccines and that desperately, I see, oh my God. It's like the fifth sun order, like fighting to survive in a certain way. And now that we're seeing that many of the tests are failing, and that is not that I'm happy. It's just that I'm seeing that
because
it
they're still
wasn't going
looking
to work.
outside, right? They're still looking outside themselves for
Uh,
the answer. But you also say some great things that this time of darkness actually is purifying us. It's pulling out the junk.
and
So,
so
yeah.
then people that when they won't find the solutions outside, they will have to start inside. And I hope that the book gets to many hands so that they don't have to explore so many things and go directly to where they should go. That is that there are their own dreams, their
Mm,
own dreams that like creators of reality. And it's logic because are the purest expression of our unconscious mind.
right.
And it's not something hocus pocus and very far away. Even it's in all the traditions, Kabbalah, Tibetan Buddhism, like the most important parts to develop.
Mm,
And also, it is like
mm,
uh, the Freud, Carl Jung said that they were so important. So Einstein. So it's not nothing new. All the prophets of the Bible that we are saying. It's just to learn in which way to really do it. And it's very concrete because dreams for many people are like something very subtle, and even some people think I don't dream. Of course, if you don't dream, you would be nuts now. Everyone dreams, you don't remember. So there are many, many ways of using your dreams from periods, for example, the one before you fall asleep, that is called hypnagogic, in which you could make what we call dream planting, that is suggesting to your unconsciousness to dream certain archetypes that will give you a result. And that is like the start. Then learning conscious sleeping, how to by slowing by yourself, like
yeah.
the cycles of your body, how to fall asleep without losing consciousness and enter directly into lucidity to create your life. So
Well,
there.
that's why people should look at your book because you give great step by step solutions to this. So,
Yeah,
and
that come from the Mexican culture, but I would like to tell the people that it's in all the cultures. So if you don't like the Mexican one, go to the dreams in Buddhism, in the Chinese culture, or in Kabbalah. But do something because the transition is happening with you or without you. So.
what's so great about Mexican culture, like you told me years ago, the word, I think you said the word Mexico means land of the dreams, right?
Yeah,
There's,
it comes from three words, that is moon, navel, and place. The place of the navel of the moon. That actually some of our exercises that are kind of yoga, that you're looking to your navel, and that because energetically the nahual or the dreaming body is in the navel. So actually that's what that means. So a complete country is named after a dreaming position, and 98% of that country doesn't know it, but they will find out. Even from Mexicans, we will find out. They will find out in the next years.
so, okay, so just tell us then, when is the sixth sun actually going to arrive in its full force? And hopefully at that point we'll be prepared for it.
In the 26th of May of 2021, but that is also a period in which people will have opportunity to solve again their inner self, or to work with their dreams but it will be more radical than 2020. because now what is radical is the lockdown and that. Then the personal tragedies or fortune, getting to fortune will be very evident in a very dualistic world. The ones that are working with them and the ones that not. So that is what it will make, will take us to the next important date, that is the 24th of November of 2026, with the new fire, in which in those times, many of the people that didn't adapt to the new world, that didn't try and that, will die. And not, it's nothing to be, to get afraid, because we're giving solutions. I would have never written a book like that without solutions, because if not, it would be very depressing to read it and not to know what to do.
You give us solutions, which is very powerful in your work, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, I mean, without solutions, I would have stayed, because why to tell the people, let them enjoy the last years. So, but if you are giving solutions, it's okay, do something. Because in 2026, metaphorically, or not so on, it gets like the third feminine force in order to act, that is the night. The night is the same one like the darkness of the Bible, or the black eagle, like the equivalent of the creator, destructor. So that's why many people will perish, that if they don't work in themselves, but at the same time, they will have like the opportunity to come back in the lineages that they stayed. And so genetically, they will have much more opportunities to adapt a new order, much more feminine, with nature, within spirituality and different ways, because your family will be in those lineages. So no one will escape to the lessons of the transition, but some will live, cross them alive in the same body, and some will have to die and will come back. It will be easier, for example.
But
if I
this
die,
your challenge right now is to go within, take the lessons laid out by the ancient Toltecs and Mayans and Aztecs, and because it's natural. They saw the cycles. They saw the 26,000 year cycle. They saw the 6,000 year 100 cycle, and they saw like the patterns that were obvious to them as it interacted with our consciousness. So you're giving us valuable information how to adapt our psyche, our world, to adjust to the vibrations that are coming to the earth, right?
Yeah, but unfortunately, these traditions, like because of the influence of the fifth son with the patriarchal religions, and that lost a lot of power during the few thousands of years. So some people don't have the information and that, but this when I found the logic, because it sounds very like strong to hear, but like other of my teachers says, okay, if you have to perish in these years, then it will be easier if you come back in a new age family than if you came this time in a very radical religious Orthodox Muslim or Jewish or Christian or whatever family. So
right, because those old religions are ending, and
not so quickly, but in the process, yeah.
But the time you're talking about is one of inner consciousness. This is where the work has to be done. And this is what's being supported now in this new time. And that's, I think, what the whole purpose of this great book is. It's a manual for transformation.
Yeah, to deal with these years with grace. And actually, I think that now I can be like a complete testimonial of this. Okay. Why? Because my teacher Hugo told me these things many years ago, and I started training in dreams and in all the things that are described there before, not because thinking it was going to be a pandemic, not because thinking the world, I had the information, but I didn't know if it was going to happen. And after 2012, I said, oh, probably it will be something like that. No, nothing spectacular. But for me, discovering dreams changed my life and working my own consciousness. But then when we entered in the 2020 and the pandemic things and that, I had been previously worked with all the things that I'm describing in the book. Not because I was sure about that, because I like them, because they changed my world.
Right. So 2020 showed you, wow, this is real. These guys knew what they were talking about, right?
Yeah, but I had been doing the work because I believed in dreams and in obsidian mirrors that, for example, you did the work with me.
I love that work. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, like personal development. So the things that I were suggested for the sixth son, I had been doing them for personal development, for improving my life. And when it came that almost all the world was stopped, and that I was really worried. I said, okay, I was supposed to have workshops all over the world for the next 1 year and a half, and now I don't have one, and like that. And then I saw that the previous work started like opening doors, and all the projects that I had been wanting for before, like a video game and a TV show and many things, start like working, and like a complete testimonial that of what I'm saying in the book. If you create a correct relationship with your dreams, with the earth, even if the world stops, the doors will be open for you. And my projects started walking and walking. I couldn't believe it. I said, I am doing better than ever. And when the world is in a cataclysm, and it's not for showing off, I'm very honest. I did the work not for believing in the prophecy. I did it because I liked it.
Right. No, I've been really busy myself this year with lots of interviews. It's been really, for me, a really amazing time because the new realities, like we've been talking about, is this change that's happening. And it's exciting what you predict is coming in this sixth sun. This is a time of going within and understanding our spiritual gifts, our tools, our consciousness, our non-local. I've been teaching remote viewing. So this is a new time that we have to let go of what we knew, the old religions, the external gods, and develop a whole new sense of awareness. That's why I really love this book, because you're giving practices and guidance and a map for the future. You really are, and you're great teachers that brought to you these secrets of Mexico. Said, Sergio, like Hugo said, you didn't want to know the guy at first. He said, who's this guy bothering me, right? But he had messages for you. And then towards the end of the book, you make a very interesting point about encounters with the dark woman, the Black lady. Can you talk about who this, like a Kali figure, who is this dark woman?
Yeah,
dark
that's
Kali?
very interesting, because in these recent years, everyone, because of the collective consciousness, developed like this fear about darkness or black, like that, and it was supposed that white was the good thing and that. But in Nahualism, that actually was like the complete science of learning of you through your dreams and through perceptual skills. There were like certain exercises that, for example, I learned like in the very ancient way, and I didn't quite find how what way they what were there for the real utility until now, that it was, for example, an exercise that to be like walking, making certain noise with your feet in an open field for a certain time, like it could go for certain hours, in order that your feet was creating like a sound in order to enter in a trance.
Right.
And then when you stop and you felt really like in the trance, to move like the eyes to peripheral vision, like in the obsidian mirror, and ask to see the lady of the night. And actually it happened to me, not always, because you don't
You
achieve it.
actually see the lady of the night? Did you see
Yeah, I
that?
have seen it like 3 times, that a
Wow.
lady, that it looks like a dark figure that is in the shape of a lady appears, and if she hugs you, she gives you the powers of the night, of the dreams, and that. I
Wow.
have seen that, and many of my students. But
You give that exercise in this book. You lay it out. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to meet this lady. I mean, and have those. It's great. So yeah. So a lot of your students, you're saying what?
yeah, lots of them saw it, and especially once that I was guiding a retreat in England, in a place that is called God's House. Uh, normally you do this kind of practices just before the dawn. That day it was very misty, like England, so it was the night with the mist. So most of the students, almost all of them, saw the lady because it wasn't completely dark. It was with the mist, like whitish, blackish. It was quite an impressive experience that exactly these forces, the consciousness of the night, and that they exist. But then I made my research, and the Lady of the Night is the same one that like is described like the darkness in the Bible, from which everything comes and everything goes. Then the Egyptians and the summer culture were seeing that in the cosmos was defined like a lady when Virgo, the sign, was astrologically entered.
Right.
And that,
And in Hinduism, Kali is the being as dark as night that eats everything, that it consumes it all. And she'll help you if you ask for that help to take away all the obstacles to your
exactly.
ego. She,
So,
she has all these heads, which are egos, like a chain of them around her neck. So
yeah, and
maybe,
that, and yeah, it's true. Everyone saw it in the Andes. They call it Vilcañusta, the sacred princess that gives life and death. Here in other cultures, Coatlicue, the ability of giving life and death from the earth, and it's the same lady of the darkness that actually is the one that is describing the representing the black Madonnas that are all over Europe, and that many people think is Mother Earth. No, it's the Lady of the Night.
so
Uh,
maybe there is this supernatural being that really does exist that you can access if you do the right steps and formulas and shift of consciousness that will come. I know people who have seen
yeah,
Kali.
personally, I have seen it. I have been hugged, and many of my students. So it's not like a personal craziness. So I have seen it. But the important thing to find this is because it will be really when you find the Lady of the Night and the hug. Now I know what it means. So that the power that you were giving of creation in goddesses, gods, and things outside is going back to you. Now I understand what means the hug of the Lady of the Night. Is like giving you like it's your turn.
Mm. And she is going to become more available to us in the sixth sun because she is in a way, the goddess of that sixth sun. She's the
Yeah, and the information will be spread all over so that normal people like I used to be, I know I'm still normal, but I want to describe the concept normal, that I wasn't born like in a monk's lineages. I wasn't the one that was taken by UFOs, or that some nothing spectacular. I just got the things by my work.
right.
So normal people like me, of the not like kind of gifted in the beginning, in your childhood or in your life, will start experiencing these things that people normally think that are only for the high levels avatars, ascended masters, and Tibetan monks that are going to self-combustion.
Well, that's
No.
what the sixth sun is going to bring in these experiences to the average person
Yeah.
are not looking for mystical because, but the whole time, the whole energy of the sixth sun for 6,000 years will be one of mystical vision, of mystical awareness.
Or the ones that decide, because others will live it through technology, and because virtual reality and all these things is the same thing. It's
Yeah.
not looking to something outside, it's looking to a kind of created thing. So it will be a conscious decision. If you choose to live it like in the virtual world, but if the virtual world takes you to suffering, you will have that option, or the spiritual one. But the information will be, for example, these things about the Lady of the Night and how to see her and that weren't out there. And I got it from the oral tradition, but I haven't seen it anywhere else.
Right.
And now many people is writing about these experiences and in a concrete way, because for example, Carlos Castaneda wrote, but with all this kind of novel thing that doesn't allow people to really practice.
Well, some of the Castaneda stuff I was able to practice and like,
Yeah. So there's some, but
if you know how to interpret it, there's keys there, but you make it much easier. You say, do this, stomp the floor and with your heel and your toe for like an hour and then stay still and you're in an altered state and then call the name and boom.
maybe. Yes, and I'm not criticizing Castaneda because I honor him. I love it.
No, I know.
But you need a lot of background in order to understand that I think he says this and that, and let's try in this way. And for example, I don't think that for the average person is easy or the practice could be done.
But your work makes it so much easier. You lay it out step by step. Do this, say these words, breathe this way, do these repetitions, and you do have experience. I had an obsidian mirror experience with your work, and it was really powerful of changing the psyche. And there's so much that is just practical information that, you make
I think my work is more of the sixth sun is average person. That want to get out from the average person. So just do it with like a recipe and let's go. And don't trust me, let's have results. Without results.
No, so read this book, The Real Toltec Prophecies, Sergio Magana. Who published this book?
Hay House.
Hay House. It's a great little book full. It's actually one of the most exciting books I've read in a long time. Do you have to go soon? We should wrap up. But I just want to say you're also going to be on. I mean, there's so much more to talk about. Just tell me one last question. So the sixth sun ignites, and we're in the energies, but then what time is it? 2024 that it really starts to?
No, it starts really in 2021, but it will go for 6,000 years. So we are not in a rush.
But it's already coming because we passed the point of that balance in 1991, really, where it was a balance. So, and then we're moving. It's like the dawn of the sun. It hasn't quite come over the horizon, but it's all emanating its light. And
for example, today I did an interview, and they asked me that many people. Many teachers were talking about like a new earth in which we were moving to the fourth and fifth dimensions, that it was, if that was something that in the Toltec tradition was. And I said, of course, but not in that way. If I see out of my window, we are completely in a new earth. If people haven't noticed, it's because they don't want to see. This is not the same planet of 20 years ago.
Even last year, right?
Yeah. And it's so in this reality, it's a complete new one.
Right.
So
No, I think you are giving a little, I mean, when you say fifth dimension, when these people say fifth dimension, when you're talking about the sixth sun, the Nagual, the dark, that could be like what these other people mean about other dimensional reality. It could be
yeah,
equated.
of course, because dreams are from the other dimension, these energies like the lady of the night. But many of the people think that is going to become like an hologram, and that some people will be kind of ascended, and that. That's what I want to say. It's not about that. We're really moving, but in this same, because I think consciousness is perception.
Yeah.
So uh, a person of the third dimension, for example, perception will only see, for example, the computer and the screen. Someone that has like the fourth, probably it will start seeing your aura and your ancestors of the fifth, and like that would see many other things. So it's about perception, and we have already lived. This is other planet, but
Right.
some people are still living completely in the matter.
No, no, you're absolutely right. In 2020, we entered a new reality. It was a different mindset, it was what I've been calling a bardo experience. In Tibetans, they say bardo is a passage. We are passing through a dark time into something completely different, unknown. And this is what you're laying out. This is the sixth sun.
Yeah, and now that I feel certain because the information really fits, I'm quite peaceful. I know where I'm going and I know what to do. And if it goes wrong, it's because I didn't do it.
Well,
So yeah, no, because that's also I have also the underworld of laziness sometimes, of lack of discipline, but it's so much peace to know that it depends of you and not of the vaccines and everything and that and that and that.
that's a great point. Your future depends on you, not the vaccines and all that stuff out there. No, that's great. You're absolutely right. No, thank you. Thank you. Let's continue this conversation again because I think we just kind of started to develop a language that people can understand, right? And well, read the book because that's actually very well written. Your English and writing is really excellent.
Thank
And
you. I have improved in these years the English, Alan.
you have improved. But I also want to say you are going to be on my panel. Let's just see the
In
panel
January,
that's
yeah.
coming up at the Open Center. Where's the? I'm just looking for that panel. I wanted to show the Open Center thing, and that is January 7th. There's going to be a lot of people talking about the future and what to expect, and Sergio's on that. Here, let me just go here. I want to share screen just to show people at the Open Center. Here it is. Open Center, year of new beginnings, maybe, Sergio. This is January 7th, 2021, 7 p.m. Go to the Open Center website, sign up. Besides Sergio, I have a bunch of astrologers, Gary Christensen, Lee Horowitz, Mitch Lewis, Jenny Lynch, William Stickevers. I have to say, William Stickevers last year, he told us we're going to see something strange coming out of China. It's going to change the world. Watch for it. So I would say he really got it on track. And
so I think between all the pieces that we can put, we can have a concrete version of what is coming.
Your stuff is long range. You lay out not just like the coming years, you lay out the next 6,000 years, the next sun, you lay out the next 26,000 years here. It's very all encompassing.
Yeah, but I would love to know about very concrete things of the next years and that are not so specified in the long count
Well, do the
have
inner work, Sergio. You got to do the work, right?
Yeah, dream it. Yes.
You got to do the dreaming work, I think, and go into that darkness. Humanity has come to a crossroads at the sixth sun. This is what you write in this book. Humanity has come to its crossroads. in the time of the sixth sun. Pay attention to the subconscious.
And it is. And like I said, when I wrote it first 11 years ago, I didn't trust it. Okay, I said, okay, something is happening, but now I'm completely sure. I said, okay. At the same, it was frightening to be right, but the second way, it depends on me. So I said, okay.
That is why I think this book is really important. This is a preparation for this new time, this new realities that we're coming into, this sixth sun, which is going to be completely different than this time of external power, authority. We've already tasted bits of this coming into our meditation, yoga, all that has brought us back in. And of course, 2020 itself has got locked us in. So,
if you have any question, leave it.
Right. Yeah. So go inward. So how can people find you?
In my website is sergiomagana.com. And yeah, I'm teaching now online like everyone. And also I have an English Facebook that is Sergio Magana, and an Spanish one, Sergio Magana Ocelo Coyote.
Great. Thank you. Hope, is everything well in Mexico? Things okay there?
Yeah, it depends on me, we say, but we are in a lockdown again. So.
Well, it's a good time in lockdown to do that inner work and do the practices that you lay out in this book. And the other books too, The Cave of Power, you know, the first book you wrote, The Time of the Sixth Sun. These are all great books because they're not just coming from you. You're like an archaeologist, anthropologist. You've gone around Mexico and you found the oral traditions, and you're the only one who's brought this out to the world. This is an incredible job you have, finding the ancient traditions and sharing it with the world. So
I really hope that now that it was accurate, and through probably my work and becoming popular all over the world, the same Mexicans take more serious the information of indigenous Mexicans and of researchers, because I think that I am very lucky, but I am sure that I am published and everything because my books come from abroad. If I would have tried to do it in Mexico, it wouldn't have succeeded.
The books are popular in the US and Italy and England. And so now
that's why they were published in Mexico. So, like you are saying, that's why I look like the only one, but there should be many looking for an opportunity to share. And now I hope that when we are seeing that really it's happening and that the treasure is there, so that they have an opportunity to share many other things that probably I don't know.
No, it's, yeah, right. But you are a collector of this oral tradition that you're giving to the world, in these ancient seers in Mexico, these, you know, real shamans of the underworld, of the going into that deep part of themselves, brought out these great teachings, you know, and you're giving it to us because you've done the hard work to do that. So I'm sure there's more, right? There's more to share.
Yeah, there should be a lot. And also now it's getting easier. With the Sixth Sun is online sharing. I don't have to be traveling all over the world.
Oh, and you only gave us half the book of The Caves of Power. You owe us another, right? There's more to that book, you said.
Of course. Yeah. I have more material. When they were interviewing me in Coast to Coast, Alice asked me, when are you going to write the second part of this? I said, because yeah, of course there are predictions beyond 2026 and many things, no, and practical things to be done.
No, I guess it's time to take your work seriously, right, Sergio?
Yeah, actually, I that's when I really saw it. I said, "Wow, it was true." So even for me, I'm very honest. I was really convinced this year. I said, "Oh my God!" So.
No, I know. It's like we're all students here of this bigger reality. So, no, thank you for everything. And we'll be in touch.
Of course. And I'll see you in January for more predictions.
Yes, and you do online workshops. So if people want to study with you and learn the practices, it's on your website, right?
Yeah, in my website are in English and Spanish, and it will be a pleasure.
Great. I'm going to try to get more people to interview you too, because this information has to be out there.
Thank you so much, Alan. You're always so kind. And you are also a prophet, even with the name of your channel, New Realities.
Right.
It's completely happening. So if anyone has any doubt, now is
right. And the ETs, are they landing this year, you think?
What it was said is that officially it was going in this famous concilium of the Vatican that they have every certain years, that was supposed to be in May, that they were going to accept the existence of UFOs and that.
Right.
And in a little time before, the NASA accepted, like some months ago, that
the government too came out with the release of the Pentagon videos. Yeah.
Yeah, and so actually it's happening, but the Vatican canceled the meeting for November of next year. So I think it was like kind of postponed, but it will come to light next year.
Yeah.
But you said it's really true. Actually, learning the obsidian mirror is not only to heal your own consciousness, it's to learn other angles of perception, because they won't be seen by the people that have a normal angle of seeing solid objects in matter. You need other perception. And those teachings will come in which perception, how to move your eyes to enter in different brain waves in order to see the UFOs and the real extraterrestrials.
Oh, actually, I want to put you in the next version of my book. I'm coming out with this book this year called Making Contact. Do you see that?
Okay, yeah.
the preparing for the new realities of extraterrestrial existence. And it's all about what you say. It's a perspective and I have writings by, it's a little commercial for myself here, Linda Moulton Howe is one of the best, Whitley Strieber, John Mack, who was a professor at Harvard. All the best people in the field contributed an essay to this collection, and it's all about shifting consciousness. And you could pre-order it for anyone watching this on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and it's be out on May 4th of this year. I'm very excited about it because it gives that perspective of how to shift our consciousnesses to meet these beings. And everyone has their own version of this, like Sergio says. So
yeah, that's right. That's great.
Yeah, it's a big book. I think it's going to, maybe they'll show up when it's published. So,
Oh, yeah. And so that people understand, if they show up, some people will see them and some not. You need to have the brain development in the brain and a certain perspective in your eyes. So in seeing in the same reality, that could be the launch of the book, some people could, if they are there, may see them and some not.
Let's do a workshop on that, seeing ETs. Do you want to do that?
Yes, I would love. I'm still learning that, and because I know the position of the eyes and that, but I want to practice and to see some because I have seen the spaceships and that, but not the ones in person. Once I see one in person, I will definitely teach to everyone because it's something that needs to be done.
I write in this book, in order to meet these ETs, you need to practice lucidity. You need to be lucid because they change our perceptual field when you meet them. So it's very much about what you're saying, be lucid.
Yes.
Dreams and other
dreams and obsidian mirror were a first step. That is about yourself and that. This goes far beyond. So
great. I'm glad we're on the same page here.
Yeah. Normally I didn't talk about that because I didn't want to make like a mixture between an old tradition and rescuing and that, and then UFOs and that. It was going, I think it will fit when it's the time. So let's keep it like pure and ancient from the start. And then, okay, like with this book, I think it begins mixing modern times with ancient times. And then let's go to the future.
That's it. We're going back to the future. No, but it's true. These ETs, whatever they are about some new realities unfolding. And it is about shifting perception in order to make contact. You're absolutely right. So, oops. Well, thank you for tuning in. I think I lost Sergio. I've been talking to Sergio Magana about his new book, The Real Toltec Prophecies. And if you want me, go to my website, newrealities.com, subscribe to New Realities here, youtube.com/newrealities. Thanks for watching.